you were chosen. You were chosen to have this binge eating. I'm going to be sharing something that may be really, really unpopular. It might be a very unpopular opinion. That's what I think. And I think also this is the fundamental beliefs of revolutionizing recovery as we know it. Having suffered from eating disorders for over 22 years and now running my own business, not just a business, but a legacy to transform the way that we see eating disorders, especially binge eating. But it really doesn't matter any kind of eating disorders. I'm very comfortable talking about that because I speak from experience. I'm not just like a coach or a therapist, just read it in a book or studied nutrition and then giving advice. I am sharing my experiences of having suffered from eating disorders. I'm also not saying that this is the only way. This is just my perspectives. Yeah, my perspectives. And I really think if we just take a look at this, it might resonate, or I don't know, just something for you to think about. But having gone like beyond binge eating, beyond the eating disorders, and going on this path of creating my own business and being an entrepreneur, there's one thing about creating your own business, creating something, whether it's a product, but then you've got also services. You become a therapist and you become a master of that one thing, whether you want to take up one occupation. And then there is having, that's like part of your business. And then there is the entrepreneurship journey, which is an evolution. It's not something that it's one thing, but you actually start seeing that everything is connected. And then you pivot because you're growing with the idea that you have. So that's where I'm coming from. So having gone through that evolution, and it started off like everyone else is trying to sell a product. I've done so many different kinds of businesses, from running my own artisan markets. And then, well, actually not from then. I started off in a normal 9 to 5 job, like in investment banking, private equity, and the finance bit, the payroll stuff. And then I went into trying to find my thing because I was just continuously burnt out in a 9 to 5 job. Even though I thought I loved it, I just loved the feeling of accomplishment, but the actual job itself, it was not something that I was really passionate about. And I was really confused for a long time, thinking that's something that I loved. But if you're anything like I was, I put 100% into anything that I do. And because I got rewarded really well, whether it's like financially or whether it's compliments from my bosses or whether it's promotion, I confused that with validation instead of my real passion. And then when I started going into this entrepreneurship journey, doing this artisan markets, and then trying to open my coffee shops and trying to think of different ways to be my own boss, that's when I felt like my soul was being lit up, even when it didn't turn out the way that I wanted to, even when it was a complete flop. I just enjoyed the process. And that's when I knew there was something about this that I loved. And anyway, I'm not here to share all that. I will be sharing that very soon in my private container, which I'm going to be launching soon at the back end of these live Facebook. This live Facebook challenge. It's coming up towards the end now of my 365-day live social media video live challenge, and you'll hear more about that. But today I wanted to really share with you that the reason why I am leading women into revolutionizing recovery as we know it, because I have a completely different spin when it comes to eating disorders and recovery. And I have been scared to share this with the world because I really felt unsafe to share it, because it is very controversial, because it's such a taboo subject and people seem to be tiptoeing around with it. And the thing that I'm about to share with you might not be a popular opinion, but I'm going to share it anyway because I think it's the backbone of the revolution, and you're either going to resonate with it or not. But this bit I really wanted to share with you, because now, beyond binge eating, there's a lot of moments where I do not have a clue how to run my business. There's moments where I'm doubting myself and thinking, is this really what I want to do with my life? Is this really the thing that I want to do to work? Is this the career that I really want? Do I continuously want to do this? Am I good enough to run this, to lead this legacy into revolutionizing recovery as we know it? And I am trying to muddle my way through, and that's why it's so valuable for me to have coaches and mentors around me and containers that can support me while I'm evolving, especially the people that walk the path before me, that I can be guided with. These are paid or not paid, and I've shared on here my recent inspiration comes from this coach called Shoshana Raven, and I haven't worked with her yet because I'm not in a financial situation to be able to invest in any of her packages. And if I could, I would I would sell something, but I can't at this moment in time. But what I do is I consume all the free stuff that she offers, like I do all the free stuff that I'm doing here. I consume all the free stuff that she has, and then I put it into action, because we know information without action just stays as information. It doesn't really do anything in our lives. It doesn't move the needle. But when I'm going through this entrepreneurship journey, as I'm building my legacy, as I'm confronting with my problems, and a lot of those times I'm adrift into self-doubt, into not knowing what I'm doing, and like I feel like I'm floating in space and I have nothing to grab onto. This is why I profoundly believe, when you're at that stage, when you're binge eating, emotional eating, or you're struggling with destructive eating behaviors, is that it's an actual gift, because you get instant feedback on where you need to work at, what you need to work on. I remember when I was struggling from eating disorders and I used to get triggered and I wanted to binge, it was a situation all the time that would trigger me, even when I was bored and had nothing else to do. That was a clear sign. What we don't realize is that when we have destructive eating behaviors and when we have those triggers, it's instant feedback. That moment there is your mind telling you, you have to look at that. So when I used to get triggered and I was on my own, and that was mainly when I used to binge eat when I was on my own, that was a moment I should have looked into what is it about being my own that I'm not comfortable with? What is it that is triggering me? Because that was a gift without me even realizing. If only if I'd looked at those moments where I was triggered, if I was with somebody and they triggered me, if people would show the photos of food and that would trigger me, if somebody was showing off how great their life and that would trigger me, that was signs, evidence, an arrow saying to you, look at that. What is it about that? And then that is the portal to our freedom. Because when we start looking into these things, and as I've experienced with my one-to-one clients, when we talk about the binge eating itself, our minds are amazing. Our subconscious mind always wants to help us. And without us knowing, with our behaviors when it comes to binge eating and destructive eating behaviors, and we automatically think it's about fixing the way that we eat, is about fixing the way that we deal with it, we forget that actually it's about all those little moments that get us triggered, and they're the ones, and our subconscious mind is pointing in a direction for us to look at, because it's always trying to self-heal, just like us cutting ourselves. The cut starts healing itself. But if we cut ourselves and then we said to ourselves, okay, I'm cutting myself, but I'm going to look at my toe and paint it and hopefully it will get better. That is basically what we're doing when we're getting triggered. We're getting triggered and then we're going to binge to make ourselves feel better. When we cut ourselves, we don't paint our toenails to make ourselves feel better. The cut is healing itself, and that's what so magical when you start flipping the understanding when it comes to our binges, because that's why I think it's the first level. And in my private container that I'll be releasing very, very soon, as this 365-day live video challenges finishes and I'll be opening that private container, these are the kind of things that I will be sharing, because the binge eating is only the first step. It gets you practicing into listening to your intuition, to your greater mind that knows all the answers for you to get what you want. So binge eating and recovery from binge eating is the first step. And then after that, once you alchemize that, once you realize that you've always had the power, you've always had a great mind that's always directing you in the place that you desire, then you go to the next stage. And the next stage is depending on each person. It might be the relationship that you want to transform. It might be the parenting, but it will end up being all of it. And that's why it is revolutionizing recovery as we know it, because as we continue on this path, like I am, I'll be walking the path with you, because I can help you with the things that I have discovered along the way, but it won't be my way. I'll be helping you, guide you to listen to your voice, listen to your greater mind, so that you can do the work that your mind is asking you to do. And then, as I am experiencing every single level, you will get the voices coming, calling you. And that's why I say that you were chosen. You were chosen to have this binge eating, because there is great, it's almost like that Spider-Man quote, with great power comes great responsibility. And when you see that, it really is about that process. What's it? What? Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. But because as you go on this journey, the signals are not going to be as clear. You're not going to have those urges and then you see the thing and you can deal with it, not like you do with binge eating. They're going to be more subtle, but you are going to have those, like the hunger that will still direct you in a place to look, but it's going to be a lot more subtle. But the good thing about it is, because you've already gone through the biggest challenge, the biggest level to overcome, it's just proof for you that you can continue in that journey, because you've done the hardest bit and you know yourself that you can continue on the other levels should you choose to continue and see how far you can go, see what potential that you have. Because right now we have no idea how far this goes, but all I know is every time that I step up to those fears in my body, every time that I face the things that I don't want to face, I achieve more, I create more, I alchemize something in my life, whether it's relationship, whether it's love, whether it's the respect, whether it's better, like being more calm, whether it's financially. It all leads to the evolution of ourselves. It's not just about the eating, it's because you're meant for much bigger things. So I wanted to share that with you, because I think we underestimate how lucky we are when we have those eating disorders and the binge eating, because it's like having a sign. It's you're not guessing where you need to work. You're actually being told where you need to work every time you get those urges. So anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you. Let me know if this is triggering you or not. Let me know what you feel about this perception when it comes to eating disorders. I know it's a little bit like daring to share, but if you've been following me for a while, I do profoundly love triggers, and you will end up loving triggers, because triggers are signposts for us to work on. And the more that we work on ourselves, the easier things become, because we're not triggered about the little things anymore. We're a lot more calmer, because those little things just go back to little things that happen in reality, and then that allows us more space to do the real stuff, what we really want to do, and that is to create our fairy tale life. So until next time, take care. Thank you for listening, and share this with anyone you think might resonate with this, or is struggling with destructive eating behaviors, and you think they might find this perception enlightening or a bit of fresh air. I don't know. So until next time, take care. Bye.